Alright, in this video I'll show you guys how to solve one-step equations. And before we start, if you look here, I have drawn the two pairs when it comes to solving these one-step equation. The first pair is addition and subtraction, and the second pair is multiplication and division. So basically, when you see an addition sign, you usually subtract, and when you see a minus sign, you usually add. If you see a multiplication sign, you usually divide, and if you see a division sign, you usually multiply. So if we look at the first example, it says 5 plus x equals 2, and our goal here is to solve for x, right? In order to do that, what we want to do is we want to isolate the x. So you want to isolate the variable, which in this case is x. And keep in mind that it could be x, it could be y, it could be z, it could be literally any letter. So we call that letter a variable. There should be an invisible plus sign in front of the 5. And since we want to isolate x, we want to move 5 to the other side. And to move 5 to the other side, since the pair for addition is minus, we have to subtract 5 from both sides. We have to subtract from both sides to make the equality still hold. That's why we're subtracting the same number from both sides. Anyways, if we subtract 5 from both sides, what we end up getting is x equals -3, which is the solution to this one-step equation. In order to check our work, what we do is we plug in this -3 for x. So what we end up getting is 5 minus 3 equals 2, which is true, and therefore this is the correct answer. So if we look at the question next to it, we need to isolate the variable again. And since it's easier to work with positive numbers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add x to both sides and then subtract 7 from both sides, because there's a minus sign here and the corresponding pair is the plus, and there is an imaginary plus sign here and the corresponding sign is the minus. If we end up calculating all of this, we get 3 plus x and minus x cancel out, right? So we get 3 minus 7 equals the minus 7 and plus 7 cancel out, x, which is x equals -4. So that should be your answer. And to plug in and to check our work, what we do is we plug in -4 for x, and if we do end up getting 7, because 3 minus -4 is equal to 3 plus 4, which is equal to 7. So we know this is correct. Now let's look at another example below. So x minus 3 equals 4. Try pausing the video and do this question on your own. So what you should have done is just, since there's a minus sign here, you add 3 to both sides. And what you end up getting is x equals 7, which is the correct answer, because 7 minus 3 is equal to 4. Now, another question, x plus 5 equals -2. So what you have to do, again, since it's a plus sign, it should be a -5, right? So you subtract 5 from both sides, and remember, you always have to do whatever you're doing to the equation to both sides to make the equality still hold true. So if we subtract 5 from both sides, we get x equals -7. Now, so that was all plus and minuses. So let's try doing some problems with division and multiplication. So for example, if we have 4 divided by x equals 2. So remember, the pair for a division sign is multiplication. So what we want to do is we want to multiply both sides by x. So times x times x. And remember, it's both sides to make the equality still hold true. What we end up getting is 4 is equal, because the division and multiplication cancel out, 4 equals 2x. Now what we have to do again is we have to divide both sides by 2 to isolate the x, right? Because 2x is equal to 2 times x. Now what we end up getting is 2 is equal to x, which is the correct answer. Because if we substitute this 2 in for x, then we get x divided by, 4 divided by 2 is equal to 2. So another example, let's try doing multiplication. So x times 2 is equal to 32. So in order to do this, since this is a multiplication sign, the dot is the same thing as a multiplication sign. I just use the dot to make it not confusing with the x variable. What we do is we divide both sides by 2, right? Because the corresponding side, or the pair for multiplication, is division. So we just divide both sides by 2, and what we end up getting is x equals 16. And if we plug 16 back in here, we get 16 times 2 equals 32, which is the correct answer. So another example would be maybe x divided by 5 equals 23, right? So try pausing this video and do it on your own. So since the corresponding pair to a division sign is the multiplication, what we have to do is we have to multiply both sides by 5 in order to isolate the x. So if we multiply both sides by 5, we get x equals 23 times 5, which is 115. And then let's do another example. So if we get 4 times x equals 15. So we need to isolate the x, right? So we need to divide both sides by 4. And what we end up getting is x equals 15 over 4, which is the correct answer. So just to recap, if you remember that plus and minus are a pair and multiply and divide are a pair, you can solve any one-step equation by applying the appropriate operation to both sides. So if you guys have any questions, just leave them down in the comments, and hopefully this video helped.